HBO Max, or there's still some tickets. You can come see it in person at the Aragon Ballroom tonight. Also, we'll be at the Aragon Ballroom tomorrow. And if you can't make it tonight, watch the show on TBS tonight. Come to the Ballroom tomorrow night for a big Thursday night of pro wrestling, because Collision is going to be awesome too.
Of course, of course. You mentioned there that you think AEW is doing the best work it's ever done. When we spoke last, it was in the fall, and, there was a lot of talk at that time, both on and off camera, about this idea of restoring the feeling and what is AEW and who is AEW's target audience. And I feel in this calendar year, especially since about March or April, the work that you guys have done has been incredible. You as a leader, now leading this charge for over 5 years, what do you feel you've done differently in the last few months to get AEW to where it's at? Because it feels like a really cohesive, really well-booked, really, really exciting promotion right now.
Remember how I was talking about that build to Revolution 2020?
Yeah.
Well, I've talked about this a bit, but Christmas 2019, I was down in Champaign, and Christmas 2019, I felt like we had done some really good things in the months leading up to the holidays, but it wasn't where I wanted to be at that point, and I really believed starting at the very beginning of 2020, we could get reorganized. And for me personally, I felt like I had so many different people pitching ideas, and I was trying to be accommodating maybe too much, and I just decided, okay, I'm going to scrap the meetings, I'm going to get a pencil and paper, and I'm just going to get organized by myself. And I felt like what it needed to be was less voices at that point, and that's how I feel right now. Is I came back with a plan in 2025, and really late 2024 was all building to this.
Absolutely. And
then in early 2025, I had that same realization that I need to do what I did 5 years ago and just block out everything and just focus on AEW and not listen to everybody's advice and maybe just make the show what I think it should be.
So on a week-in, week-out basis, the TV that we see with Dynamite and Collision and then the pay-per-views, it's more you than it ever has been in terms of the structure of the show and the creative of the show?
The most in years.
The most in years?
The most since, like, 2020. I never planned to get away from it, but it's just like, it's supposed to be a good thing, listening to lots of people. It's supposed to be a good, but, I found that the show needed the one voice that it had all through the pandemic and all through when we came out of the pandemic. And that's something we had when we came out of the pandemic, is I had all the plans I'd put together in Daly's place. And what I really wanted, man, was that Daly's place mentality that I had, and I tried to bring that back. And that's actually what I say in truth at the shows, is I bring Daly's place everywhere we go. We're here in the Aragon Ballroom, but I want to have the same mentality these 3 weeks that I would have had when I was bunkered up in the pandemic in Jacksonville. And I really felt like that organization, and even for the months leading up to that same mentality was really the mentality we were bringing all of early 2020. Those weeks leading up to that Revolution, it was all very well organized. We were in Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Kansas City with the Kenny Omega Pac Ironman match, and then set up the Pac Orange Cassidy match that's still the most watched match in AEW history coming out of that Kansas City show. We did all these great things going into Revolution 2020. That year was really well organized, and I think even though the circumstances of the planet changed a lot in 2020, we had a really well organized plan that we executed. I had to make a lot of changes when people weren't available, and that mindset served us well, because that's what happens in wrestling. People get injured, people become unavailable. It was certainly more common in 2020 than it ever had been to lose people due to unavailability, often as people isolated and things. But yeah, that's the mentality. I just came back in early 2025, and I had a conversation with a bunch of people I remember being in Charlotte for Collision the first weekend of this year, and it was the same weekend as Wrestle Dynasty, so a lot of the crew was in Japan.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to everybody, like, I am all over this. Like, I promise, like, we'll look back on being here in Charlotte and say, we have gotten to such a great place with the company. We're so strong, and we've really gotten hot, and that's what's happened. And
do you feel like, I don't know if delegation is the right word, but the fact that you were listening to so many voices over the last few years, does that just come from your schedule of dealing with the Jaguars and dealing with the soccer team?
No, I was just trying to incorporate people's ideas.
Okay.
People get involved. There's some great people backstage that contribute ideas, but I need to be the filter of those ideas. And, instead of trying to take the best ideas from everyone and incorporate them and have it be a mix of everyone's ideas, I just come in with, I basically went back to writing my own outlines, and then I'll solicit some ideas from people, and maybe I'll incorporate them. But it's a different process. I went back to the same process I used in Jacksonville, and then along the way we added more and more people, and I started trying to incorporate the different ideas. And it's like George Costanza said about Jerk Store. He had a plan with Jerk Store. He came in, Jerk Store was the line, and it's like he said, people are throwing all these different lines at Costanza, but he wanted to say Jerk Store. That was his plan, and I think I had to stay focused on the Jerk Store.
Stay focused on the Jerk Store. Well,
we do not care.
There's been rumors that AEW's not going to be around much longer. They've been in business since 2019, and there's speculation that they may only may be around for the next 5 years. And it's been saying by reports by Sam Roberts has said this. There were reports by Peter Rosenberg. Other podcasts has been saying this in the wrestling IWC community. We're going to talk about it too, and I got Mr. Goodbread with me. We're going to talk about this whole concept of AEW, how it went from starting off with being a great secondary alternative company. Now it's on its demise. Every single year the numbers drop. Every single year they losing more and more stars that's affected over to WWE, or they just go to independence and they don't want to be bothered no more. But Gilbert, what is your take on the situation, man? This is not looking good for AEW.
Definitely not looking good for AEW. And we saw this coming because whenever you're a company that don't do stories, you don't capture the fans' attention through the stories. Remember, wrestling is a sitcom that's told through matches and characters, but a sitcom has storylines. Like imagine watching General Hospital or All My Children and ain't no storylines. Then you just watching a bunch of characters just freestyle, and that time is running out. Because if you can't tell a story, then there's no crowd investment, there's no fan investment, there's no need to be invested into the product. And AEW is finding that out now.
Yeah, and I see that because every wrestling show that's on TV now, from Raw, SmackDown, down to NXT, Evolve, even TNA, everybody's telling stories behind these matches, these feuds. That's what keeps us captivated, as you said, like similar to soap operas. That's what keeps us want to tune in every single week and watch the shows, and that's what causes ratings to go up. If you're just doing these microwave, that's what AW is, they're a microwave company. If you're doing this microwave stuff, you just pop it in the microwave and you're doing this one-off matches for spots or for, as they said in interviews, rumored, you do it for 5-star reviews by Dave Meltzer to get a bonus, quote unquote, then you're not going to last long at all. And that's what we're starting to see. In the past, 3 years, we have seen many stars that were former WWE talent or never WWE talent have defected over. Look at Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Jay Cargill, Ethan Page, the most recent Mariah May, Blake Monroe, now NXT, Ricky Saints. I mean, that's 5 people that's been gone in the company. And then you have some sitting on the sidelines like Warlow, Britt Baker. You just have some that's not doing anything. It's not looking good for AEW. And my question is, Goodbread. Now, Tony Khan also, for you guys that don't know, he also owns Ring of Honor, ROH. If AEW does defect and they end up going out of business, what happens to that company for ROH?
If you ask me, I think Tony Khan will revert back to going to ROH. I think we won't get AEW no more, but Tony Khan will just take over ROH, and that'd be him, and he'll just run that small independent program right there. Because AEW not gonna be around too long. I really believe they got about 5 more years myself.
I
Because you
see that.
can't run a business with no stories. Like, you don't have a story. If I was to ask you right now, what is the biggest storyline over in AEW? You're not gonna be able to tell me what's the biggest storyline because there is
No,
very little.
no. Even when Adam Page just won the AEW title at All In, that really wasn't a story. It was just based off Adam Page winning the Owen Hart Classic, at Double or Nothing, and that's how he got a title shot. But there really was no story there. Yes, he faced John Moxley countless times before, but in recent memory, there's really no story between those two. There's really none to be told.
Like, look, so for example, right? We just had two great women's matches within the span of 2 months. No story, and we're not able to drag it out and get more matches out of that. First, we had Mercedes Monet against Athena. That right there is a 3 month, 4 month feud. You can
Yeah,
make matches out of that. These
yes, you
girls
can.
had one match. Athena lost.
Yeah, yeah,
And then we went straight into Sasha Banks, Miss Monet versus Tony Storm. They had their match, one off, and it's nothing. We get nothing. Those are two feuds that could have been half a whole year. Sasha could have feuded with both of them women for the whole year, and we could have got more matches off of that. But
very true, very true.
I
Uh,
don't understand.
I don't understand either because y'all, it's not like AEW don't have the talent. You guys have the talent. We're not denying that you have the people on the roster. It's just the problem is you don't know how to utilize these people. Like once again, I know me and you, we talked outside of off camera. Where's Orange Cassidy at? Where is he at? Did he get hurt or something? Did he say he sitting out until what happened with him? I'm still trying to figure out what's the deal with him.
Right, it's crazy, bro.
Yeah, so I'm not happy about that. Um, Another thing too, one thing you said before that's so true about AEW, they don't have a larger than life superstar. And I looked at the whole roster. I don't see it Adam Page. I don't see it MJF. I don't see it anybody. It's just former WWE talent, but they have not created that larger life star to say, hey, if I would have watched this particular star and this big story and this big character, everything, I gotta go to AEW only to watch him, and there's no character like that.
Absolutely right. And that's what WWE, you can say what you want about Vince McMahon and the late great Hulk Hogan, but that's what WWE, WWF got right. For the first 6 years, they rode Hulk Hogan gravy train. Hulk
Yeah,
Hogan was the larger than life athlete. Remember who was the champion before Hulk Hogan? We had the independent darling, which would have been Bob Backlund. Bob
Bob
Backlund
Backlund, yeah.
fits the mold of these independent AEW type, Daniel Bryan type stars. That didn't get the job. He didn't get us to where WWE needed to be. Hulk Hogan, the larger than life athlete, got us there.
Exactly, exactly.
So we rode Hulk Hogan's coattail for the first 6 WrestleManias. Every event, every main event, centered around Hulk Hogan. And that's because that's who the fans got invested. The fans got behind Hogan and his story. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins, no matter how corny it might have been to you. It was a story. It was something people could put their hat on and they could cling to and live vicariously through Hulk Hogan. And that's how WWE to this day became so popular
Mhm.
nationwide.
Yeah, it's true. They're the juggernaut. That's how they became a juggernaut. Now, one thing you said that's true too that you mentioned. You said one reason AEW is going to fold because of the long-term contracts that they have currently with their wrestlers. Like the guys that signed originally back in 19, some came in 20 and 21-ish, but the 5, 6 year contract term is going to be up. And if they're not producing the same numbers they were before, because they're not, they're barely getting 600,000 views each week on Dynamite. And we're not going to talk about Collision. I think Collision only pulled 300,000, barely 300,000. Um, they're not be able to keep these people, similar to the whole WCW thing, similar to also TNA back, 10, 12 years ago when Dixie Carter was running it. You're not gonna be able to keep these people, and they're gonna have to take a pay cut or basically a lateral move, no increase in pay, and they're gonna expect more money, and that's gonna cause them to walk.
Absolutely, you're gonna have a couple of higher echelon people in AEW that go on over. This will be when we finally get Kenny Omega crossing on over to wrap his career up in WWE. We will get that. After this, we got about what? A couple more months. Britt Baker was a pillar. She's a pillar. And her contract is
Yep.
almost over.
Yep.
So those pillars, the Orange Cassidys, the Chris Jerichos, the John Moxleys, they got decisions. They got decisions coming up. They got big decisions coming up. And it's gonna be very interesting because Tony Khan ain't getting better. You got to be a fool if you think AEW is getting better. Now, what is happening is they're learning how to quiet up. They learn how to shut up so that, you know what I mean? If you're not talking crap, then when you're putting out crap, nobody can really scrutinize you because you're quiet about it. So that's where AEW is at right now.
That's
A
true.
couple people are saying, oh, AEW is getting better. They're not
No, they're
getting
not.
better.
No, they're not.
They just stopped. They just stopped going online. They
They run
just
their mouth.
they stopped running their mouth. But the
And
numbers are still the numbers.
and then too, they steered away from their original format, like I said, which was the alternative company. They had the rating system, like based on a rating system that I liked. Whoever had the highest rating, they would be next in line for a title shot. I like that concept. I like the fuse. The TNT belt was highlighted a lot when Cody was there and Brody Lee. The AEW belt was starting to get some. It's just like all went downhill. And now I see too that another reason AEW put their foot in their mouth is when they beat NXT back in 2020, 2021. That caused NXT to revamp to 2.0 for a while. And then when NXT did revamp and they get back to the last version of Black and Gold before going to Black and Silver, they start beating AEW ratings, and they still beating them now. And AEW's never bounced back ever since 2 years ago, Title Tuesday, when Tony Khan called HBK and Shawn Michaels ball frauds. The episode that Undertaker was on and John Cena. Y'all haven't been the same since then. That's where y'all really went down.
Absolutely, yo. I remember that like if it was yesterday, man. And I remember you saying that, Tony shouldn't have did that.
She
He
never
shouldn't have
did
did
that.
that. And that's the thing. They went from becoming the alternate. They went from worrying about what they do right and wrong to trying to compete with the main roster. I was okay with them trying to compete with NXT, but
Right.
when they beat NXT a couple of weeks and then they got fancy and tried to
Very
compare
fancy.
themselves to Monday Night Raw or to SmackDown, and it never ends well. We seen history repeats itself. We've seen other companies try to compete with Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, and it did not end well.
Never
You got to
ended.
understand, though Monday Night Raw took years to get where they're at.
Yeah, they
Took
came out
years,
93, and look where they are today. Yep.
right? You know what I mean? So you got to really, Tony Khan got to focus on what he do right and not really worry about WWE. He brought too much attention, and then once the
I agree.
WWE gave them their attention, Tony couldn't handle it. We just went through a scheduling nightmare for AEW. They couldn't get eyes on their product if they tried.
Good.
What just happened to them? WWE had them booked, had their number. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
with the
couldn't.
we had Revolution. Like, how did that just go down? Right? What was it was crazy. Nobody
You talking about
watched.
All In? You talking about All In?
Yes,
Or, oh, you
yes.
talking about the numbers? Their numbers for attendance records. I believe the All In 2025 Texas, they had only get ready to hear this, guys. Ain't no good number. 29,000 people in attendance. That is very, very low. So they had 40,000 last year.
And if you notice, each year the
It
steam
drops.
is off. Each year
drops.
the steam is off. And I mean they keep hanging a hat on the year that they did 60,000, but they haven't done 60,000 in 2 years.
Since then. And then Tony Khan, like you saying right now, he's the one saying that AEW 2025 is the best year of AEW. How? I mean, maybe gate wise, but product is trash. Your ratings are not the best. Now, if you're talking about your gate numbers, because they said he did get great at the gate numbers, like you said earlier, AEW books at smaller venues because that
That's
all
what I
in.
was That's what I
Yeah,
was about to say. How can you be proud that you're selling out 15,000 seat arenas when you originally came to 35,000 seat arenas? You're selling
yeah,
out 15,000. Kudos, you're sold out, but your arenas are smaller than what you wanted.
yeah. Now this all in for 29,000. That's only because the seating chart is 40,000. So you almost filled that up. Majority of it got filled. Majority of it got filled. Because if you look at the numbers, that's what 72%, 70% of the seats filled. You didn't even sell that out. 40,000. That's not a lot of people for wrestling. That's not a lot. That's very small, very very small, especially for your biggest event of the year, which is all in.
That's true. You didn't even need to do a stadium. You didn't even need to do Texas Stadium if you was only going to sell 29. You could have did that in an arena. You could have did that in a sports arena in the Spectrum.
And then we know too AW, I learned this with All In 2 years ago. You guys be tampering with your numbers. Did you even do 29? You might have did 20 or 25,000 for all we know. Watch some reports come out months from now or maybe even a year from now. Oh, they really only did like 20,000. They didn't do 29. You guys like to manipulate the numbers. Because it says here, matter of fact, right now I see it. Russell Tick said you really did 20,000. And I was just now looking at this, and they saying that's 29. So you probably only really did 20,000, which is even that's half of the
Exactly.
arena. That's half of the arena.
Exactly. I mean, because look what they were up against. Think about it. They were up
Saturday
against
night's main event. Saturday night's main event.
Saturn and
Goldberg's final
Revolution,
match.
Evolution.
Evolution, yeah, Evolution. Evolution as well. And let's see how those numbers did. Evolution I'm talking about. Let's see how they did because that was the all women's what PLE. Now they did 10. They let's see how they did for this year. I believe they did for this year if four they only did 4,804 tickets. You know that's why WWE does not do Evolution that much, and they prove why. And that's all women's event, but still, they still had great eyes on the product. They still had great eyes on the product. Um, but
I mean,
that's
I watched Evolution. I didn't watch what Tony had going on
no, I
until the
watched.
next day. I
Yeah, I
watched the
watched it later
playback.
on. Yeah. Yeah, like I know, the one with Goldberg, the most recent night's main event. Now I know the attendance for that one. I think it was 12,785. So that's even you guys had 20,000 for All In. Once they did almost that many numbers, and that was just that wasn't a PLE. That was a regular Saturday night main event. That shows
And
you
keep in mind, right, and All In is kind of like their WrestleMania.
WrestleMania.
I mean, we know what numbers the
Because I
main
know.
roster did for SummerSlam. So
Now,
it's
I
like,
know, I know the AEW fans got excited saying, All In was way better WrestleMania this year, way better show. That may be true, but it wasn't better than no SummerSlam, I tell you that much. All In was better than no SummerSlam.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And All In was not better than WrestleMania night one.
Not
It
night,
was
yeah,
better. Yeah,
night
it was
two.
better as a collective. As a collective,
Yes,
I'll give
collective.
AEW
Yes,
that.
yeah, but
They
not
did
night
put
two.
on some good hot
Yeah,
shot matches, but not
yeah.
night two.
And that's only because Adam Page won the AEW title. Had Moxley retained, it wouldn't have been that good. So and I said he better win that belt. And you had Tony Storm retain. Them two things didn't go down, or the show been way worse than what it would have been, way worse. Yep. So I just saying, man, I think AEW 5 to 10 years, 10 years max. But the next decade, it's over. It's over for AEW. I don't see it being around. I give them 10 max because you may have a few that'll stick around, but it's gonna be in its dying days at that point. But other than that, though, that's all. I have nothing else to say. I mean, that's why AEW would not last another decade. They're not gonna last another decade. I will say that for sure. Five, but definitely not another decade. You may get lucky, make another 5 years, but I don't see it happening. But that's it. Other than that, anything else you want to add, Bill Brad?
Man, I'm with you on that. And it's sad because, again, and we say this every time we do one of these videos, we are not AEW haters. We
No, we're
actually were
not.
one of the first, we was in the front of the line hoping AEW do well because we knew if AEW did well, then we'd get a new WWE like what we got.
Mhm.
Remember,
Exactly.
WWE stepped their game up when they seen AEW coming. When they
Yeah.
seen AEW coming,
Yep.
we started to get the bloodline storyline, and we
Yep.
started to get
Everything up.
cinema.
Everything
So
up. Yep.
for
But yeah,
us, for the sake of us fans, it'll be in our best interest that AEW get their stuff together.
I really
It's
hope
better.
so. I really hope so.
This is a wreck. He's moving like an uncaged animal.
No lie, he's wild in there.